Hello friends, this is your friend Professor Iqbal here. Once again I welcome all of you to my YouTube channel My Grammar Classes, and in this episode of lecture we will particularly discuss on Helen Keller's autobiography, The Story of My Life. Now if you see the name of this autobiography, The Story of My Life, will tell you everything about what she might have written in her autobiography. It is a self-written biography, okay, which talks about her own experience when she was a kid. In the beginning, we come to know about this girl who was born in Tuscumbia, Alabama, which is in US, and from that time to now, what actually had happened in her life, she has tried to explain in her autobiography. Having said this itself, let us understand, apart from all the hurdles and problems she was just trying to do something in order to prove herself that she can overcome the illness which she was exposed. One day, what happened? The doctor exposed her with an acute congestion of stomach and brain, which left a great impact on her mind. And from that day onwards, she was deaf and blind. So her senses were lost, two of her senses were lost, and now it was a big challenge for her. What could she do and how to get everything back? It was a difficult condition for her. Even then she tried to learn everything that was very essential for her. This autobiography was published in the year 1903, which was a great response from the readers. There was a great response from the readers' side and it was appreciated well. As the autobiography is a story of a kid which is written by herself, it could grab huge number of audience. Now, the family member, the father Arthur and the mother, they were very worried about Helen Keller because she had lost her senses. She could not hear anything, she could not see anything. Now what to do? Okay, there was a fever could discontinue after some time, but the problem of hard of hearing, the problem of hearing loss was still there, and even there was some blindness which was there in her eyes. Now slowly she could come over all the problems which was there, but to make sure this happens, she had to go through a difficult level of experience. Now it was Dr. Alexander Graham Bell who proved a worthy person in her life. She dedicates this autobiography to Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, who really helped Helen Keller to understand the life, to understand the nature surrounding her. Only on his request, the father of Helen Keller wrote to Perkins Institution to appoint a teacher or tutor for Helen Keller. And after that, her new teacher or tutor came, who was Mae Sullivan. Now, Sullivan had developed a great bond and rapport with Helen Keller, and they started to explore the surrounding atmosphere which was there. First, she started to make her reactive by saying yes. When you say yes, it means to shake her head, neck, okay? So nodding could be yes, okay, it could be yes, or other responses like saying no, nodding face no, saying yes. So like this she started to learn yes and no, and after that, once what actually happened, she gifted her a doll which was made by the children of Perkins Institution, and she spelled D-O-L-L. So she gifted her a doll, she spelled D-O-L-L, and by that time Helen also could try to grasp the idea that this was the doll which was presented by Miss Sullivan. Now after that, when both of them were walking towards home, well, there Helen could touch the water which was falling, and then Miss Sullivan spells W-A-T-R, water, and then she was also trying to repeat after her. This was a really hard time for Helen Keller, but through the hard efforts of Mae Sullivan, the teacher, she could really learn some ideas how to spell the words how to be reactive to a situation. And one day when she was there in front of her tutor, Mae Sullivan, she touched the head of Helen Keller and spelled the word T-H-I-N-K, think. This is something which made Helen Keller for some time think, and she started to read something, she started to learn something. And after that, what actually happened, her teacher gave her to Miss Sarah Fuller, who could give Helen Keller some exercise, who could give some exercise to her. And then she started to do that exercise. Slowly there was a gradual progress in her learning, and this was a good response. This was a good response from Helen Keller's side, and the parents of Helen Keller, they were really happy. They were really happy. Now after that, having said itself, the first phrase which she uttered after having put in many efforts, she uttered was, "It is warm." It is warm. This is something which made her curious to learn something. This is something which has made her to learn something. And then she started to write something. She started to write something, and she could write a story, The Frost King, okay, which was afterwards became a controversial issue for plagiarism, okay. She also said when it was taken to interaction in front of the court, then she said she might have read Canby's the original story, The Fairy. She might have read the original story, and then she might have written that. It was published in Perkins Institution's magazine, but there was a charge of plagiarism on her. Then it is not only about Canby's story she might have read. It is said by her that she had already read Shakespeare. Then we come to know about Robinson Crusoe, we come to know about Macbeth, King Lear, and then many other English poets and dramatists she read. And there was a great impact which was left on her mind. Slowly she started to learn, and then one day what happened, she was fully matured. She could read now, she could explore now, she could go on exploring the world. So the story of my life is indeed a great experience of Helen Keller, which was narrated so nicely by herself. It is something which we actually want to learn from herself. And this is what she says in her autobiography. She has said in her autobiography that what she says, we will read one particular quotation. "Even after my illness, I remembered one of the words I had learned in these early months. It was the word water, and I continued to make some sound for that word after all other speech was lost. I ceased making the sound waha waha only when I learned to spell the word." Now there were many people who were really influential, okay, who were very influential. She had learned from Mark Twain, she was exposed to Brooks, and there were many people who were involved in her life in order to mold her life as a good person. The most important person who was there was Dr. Abraham Graham Bell, to whom she dedicates her autobiography. It is neatly written. There are 23 chapters. It was published in 1903, which elaborates her lifestyle, what actually had happened. She suffered from, as I said you in the beginning, she suffered from acute congestion of stomach and brain, which left her blind and deaf. And she was struggling within. To come over this problem. Even the parents of Helen Keller were very worried. They were very worried about this problem which she had. And slowly with the help of her teachers, her tutors, okay, all the people who had come in her life, she get rid of this problem. Rather than get rid, you can say she got rid of this problem, and hence it became a great success for her. And this is something what she tells in her autobiography, The Story of My Life. This is something what she tells in her autobiography, The Story of My Life, the story of her own life, which is told by herself, okay. And this is something what I wanted to present to you, the story of my life of Helen Keller. Thank you very much everyone for watching this video. I hope this video will really help you in order to understand the autobiography of Helen Keller. That is the story of my life, which was published in the year 1903, having 23 chapters where she explores her life, her surrounding, okay, her homestead, and how she could learn from her tutors, teacher, and the great influential peoples where she been a part of them. Thank you very much everyone for watching this video. I hope this video will be really useful to you in order to understand what she has to tell the entire universe. Thank you very much. Have a good day.